Just taking my vitamin D supplements. I don't know why I'm in a funk. It might be a little bit of seasonal depression. I've been really feeling like that one scene of Bella in New Moon where she just sits in the comatose chair waiting for her husband to return from war, aka her vampire boyfriend to return from Italy. I thought that this might be fun. I really don't have high hopes for this book living up to the insane standards in my mind. Like, I'm fully aware that I loved it as a child, but that it's not gonna be good. But I think it could be funny. Can we just talk a little bit about when I was 11 years old and I was reading Twilight for the first time? I also had a spend the night party that I feel like my mom made me have. There were probably like 8 or 10 girls at my house sleeping over, and I was reading Twilight at the time. I wanted to be reading Twilight. I was like, I don't care about these sleepover festivities. Like,
get me back 2 forks.
And I quite literally turned on a movie for my friends to watch, and then I went in the other room and read Twilight. It was my crack. I needed it. It was so bad. I recently rewatched the first Twilight movie, and it was so bad that it kind of upset me because of how much I disliked it. And I don't even think I could finish it. It was just, I was like, this is like 2 hours long. What is happening? How did they get so popular? I guess because 11-year-olds like me were obsessed. I can't even explain it to you. I like literally had a Instagram fan page. That's like so embarrassing. Anyway, I got the audiobook from Libby and started reading it, and I'm like 2 hours in already.
I was curious about you. You spied on me, but somehow I couldn't infuse my voice with the proper outrage. I was flattered. He was unrepentant. What else is there to do at night?
ASMR. Okay, been a minute. I was just in a really bad book slump, and I only read one book in the whole month of October, and that book was indeed Twilight. This is just gonna be like a really rambly review of my thoughts. There are truly so many things wrong with this book. Like, objectively speaking, there are so many flaws, but on a subjective level, I kind of liked it. I mean, I mostly hated it, and it did kind of ruin the magic. But I did have fun, even though I can acknowledge that it was not a good book. And we're gonna dive into that. We're gonna just start from the beginning. Like, right off the bat, you are introduced to Bella, and it's her perspective. And Bella isn't like other girls. She is very insecure and obsessed with her appearance and thinks that she's the worst person in the world, and that Edward is this angel sent from heaven, can do no wrong, absolute perfection, and that she just like doesn't deserve him at all. Meanwhile, he's literally so appetized by her scent that he sits on the opposite side of the desk to avoid the temptation to eat her. Aww. I, growing up, was so Team Edward, which is really also might say a lot about my personality and my taste in men, but now, like, looking back, I can acknowledge that Team Jacob is the right answer. Edward is a psycho, toxic, manipulative predator, but he just has those dreamy eyes. I kind of felt like there were just so many random details in this book. Like, it read like a journal of someone who just described every like tiny little aspect of their day, and a lot of random details like that had nothing to contribute to the story. This book is so long, and it could have been probably half the length because of just the random things that Bella feels the need to explain and describe that just don't contribute anything. For example, she says, I made enchiladas for dinner, and Charlie seemed shocked because there are no good Mexican restaurants around here. And I had a crazy dream last night. This book alone is quite literally proof that people's dreams are not interesting. Apparently Stephanie Meyer got the idea for Twilight in a dream. The way that Bella falls in love with him after a total of like 3 conversations make it make sense. And honestly, I feel like that is really a trait of a toxic relationship, is how quickly it escalates. But I'm not like a therapist. I'm not licensed to label any relationship as toxic, but I'm pretty sure that Edward and Bella are the blueprint. It literally says, quote, he looked at you like you're something to eat. Bella's friend says that to her. Bella has a deep insecurity that there's something wrong with her, and like the more that I read this book, the more that I started to believe that there really truly was something wrong with her. She's just so completely oblivious to danger or anything around her, and it's really concerning. Like, she's walking at night in an alley, and these men try to attack her, and she's like, oh, I can take them. This like 17-year-old girl who's infamously clumsy and falls down all the time thinks that she can fight off these grown-ass men instead of like running away. So concerning. She tries to be portrayed as someone so mature because she reads Jane Austen, and she doesn't give in to like the silly drama of her peers. She just lacks so much awareness, and she's so insanely naive. She's like, Edward could kill me, but that's okay because we're in love. Honestly, like Edward and Bella kind of deserve each other because they're both sort of annoying and patronizing. Edward is very patronizing to Bella. Edward is just really, things that he does to her are really concerning. But then Bella also is such a bad friend. Like the way that she thinks about her friends, she just thinks that she's so above them and that they're so silly and stupid for like caring about prom. And it's like, you're 16, you should care about prom. Please do not go get into a relationship with a 100-year-old vampire who has clearly stated so many times that he wants to kill you. Now, here are some examples of Edward being patronizing. Also just giving me whiplash. Like, Edward so clearly says,
we can't be together, this isn't gonna work.
And then Bella tells her friends, no, we're not dating, we're not together. And Edward's like,
Why'd you say that?
You told me to say that. Oh, they're going on a walk, and they're talking about the trail that they're gonna walk on, and Edward goes, I said there was a trail, not that we're taking it. I mean, this man is so patronizing, and Bella's just like, yes, sir. She just treats him like a god. It's so annoying. Edward says to her, you were my own personal demon, summoned from my personal hell to ruin me. How romantic. And then their first kiss, the scene where they first kiss, this man literally makes her nauseous. He picks her up and runs, and they go so fast that she's nauseous from motion sickness, like breathing, trying to concentrate on not throwing up, and he decides that's a good time to kiss her. I mean, as if we didn't have enough proof of how insane these people are. Edward admitting to sneaking in and watching her sleep at night, and her only being concerned about looking cute while she's sleeping is like the perfect summary of their relationship. He's a predator and like genuinely wants to eat her and kill her, and she's like, am I cute though? Also, it's just so frustrating. Edward feels entitled to know every single thought she's having because he has this ability to read other people's minds. And so he's constantly like, what are you thinking about? And it's like, you're not entitled to that. Let this girl have her own thoughts. Everyone should be allowed to have their own personal thoughts. And then he says, if you don't tell me, I'll just assume it's something worse than it is. Dude, there's just no respect, no trust, no boundaries whatsoever. So many red flags. The biggest red flag in this book, though, is that Bella doesn't like snow. What is that? Edward's constantly reminding her that he could kill her, and he's so strong and so powerful for resisting this insane temptation. And she's just so, like, frail and breakable. And it's like, no, you're the weird one for wanting to kill me, and it's not my fault, and also you don't get a pat on the back for not killing someone. That should just be like the bare minimum, you know? But he's like, yeah, I could like crush your skull with my finger, and this just dazzles her, which is just more proof that Bella is just like unwell in the head a little bit. Oh, also, at the end of their date, they go on a full day date, and at the end of it, Bella says that she is, quote, exhausted from mental and emotional stress. Those are Bella's actual words that she uses. Like, where's the romance? I'm truly not seeing it. They didn't even do anything that should have required so much stress. It's literally just their interaction. And you would think that that would be a signal to someone that maybe this isn't gonna work out, but instead, she's so obsessed with him, and he so clearly has the upper hand in this relationship. It's giving Stockholm Syndrome. She's like drained, but also kind of hypnotized by him because he's very elusive. Like, I understand the appeal, like the desire to understand more. She mistakes this as love. And bestie, I don't think that's love. It's concerning. Like, if I was Bella's friend and she was describing these thoughts to me, I would be like, sister, I love you, but you don't love him. And it's sad because Bella doesn't really have friends. I mean, she does have friends. She could have friends if she was a better friend, but she doesn't talk to her friends, and so they don't really know what's up. And so she just sort of isolates herself. And I guess that's also a classic abuser tactic, is isolating them from their family and friends, which I guess Edward doesn't really do that. Bella just does it to herself. She just chooses to isolate isolate herself from her friends. Bella says, "I love you," and Edward responds, "You are my life now." Okay, no pressure there. Literally the morning after she finds out that he's been breaking into her house every night. It's just like so many things. Like some of the stuff maybe alone isn't as concerning, but all of it combined is so many red flags. He carries her down the stairs and she protests, but he does it anyway because she doesn't have any control or say in this relationship at all. Immerse the most cringe. She goes, "Watch me hunt," before making a bowl of cereal. Billy and her dad Charlie are the best characters, and their scenes did warm my heart when they would say things to her in a loving manner, and because they were looking out for her and they knew that Edward was kind of sus, and she's like, "They'll never understand." She's such an asshole to her dad. She literally calls him Charlie behind his back. Like, he doesn't do anything wrong to deserve the way that she treats him. And Rush, Edward picking her up and putting her in the truck and buckling her seatbelt. Why is he literally her dad? Belle's kinda maybe redeeming herself in the end. She says, "I can't always be Lois Lane. I want to be Superman too." But in this context, it doesn't have that much power because she's asking him to turn her into a vampire. Because she's essentially suicidal and really just has bad judgment choices. I thought about maybe reading all of the books again, but then that one was just a little bit painful. But there were moments when I was reading it and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so romantic." But then I would snap out of it and I was like, "No, it's not." It is funny though that when I was 11, there would always be like concerns or critiques, and I was always like, "These books are so good. I don't know what any of those people are talking about." And I kind of get it now. I think that's it. Like and subscribe.